Hi, everyone. This is Tom, and this is part two of jobs I had now in high school. If you haven't seen the earlier video, I have all the jobs I had starting at 12 years old. But now I'm in high school. I'm 14, 15 years old, and I'm going to St. John's High School in Northwest DC. And I'm continuing with newspapers every morning. I cut grass on Saturday mornings. And I also babysit every now and then during the week after my sister decided to stop babysitting. So now word had gotten out that you could caddy at some of the local golf courses, and Chevy Chase Country Club and Columbia Country Club hired caddies. They paid them $14 a bag to go 18 holes. And Pete McNamara was a friend of mine. He used to carry 2 bags, and that was $28 for a round of golf, and you got a $2 tip to make $30. I did that for a while during my freshman year, and it was exhausting. I came home, I couldn't take it. Kudos to Pete for being able to do that. My mom was also continuing to go up to these customers after I raked their leaves or cut their grass and ask them how the job was and did they need any other work done. And a couple of them got me to wash their windows on their home, first level and second level, the best I could. And I was not happy about it. My mom and I started clashing for the first time. And I told her, that's interrupting my Saturdays. And I feel it's really dangerous. And she agreed. Anyway, around this time, I was collecting for the Washington Post. And I found a customer in the closet, had been beaten and robbed, and I ended up on the front of the Washington Post and the Washington Star back then. I also had to give speeches to the Shriners Club and the Youth Optimist Club and these other local clubs where these mostly elderly people wanted to hear my story of how I had found this lady and ended up saving her. She ended up living another 5 or 6 years. She was 82 years old, and it worked out for me. It gave me this name in the community that was, well-deserved. I mean, I was a hardworking kid. So right around this time, I'm beginning my sophomore year at St. John's, and the Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C. called St. John's and asked for industrious young men that would come and reupholster thousands of ballroom chairs by tearing off their plastic covers and stapling or tacking on new covers. And so I was offered this opportunity and I took it and I made good money. So around this time, I'm a sophomore, towards the end of my sophomore year at St. John's, and my mom and I were clashing big time. My baseball coach, Mike Braddock, got word of this, and he went to my mom and said, listen, instead of Tom doing all these jobs, why don't we have him work at one place? And he had the friend of his at Bethesda Florist offer me a job. And so I could go there on weekends and after school. I just had to get there. And my mom said, that's great. Let's, move on to Bethesda Florist. So I would ride my bike the 3 miles after school, kind of during rush hour, in some busy streets on Connecticut Avenue and East-West Highway. But I got up to Bethesda Florist and worked, and then would ride my bike home. And this actually worked out pretty well. Compared to the other jobs I had, this was very easy. And they loved having me there, and I was a good hard worker. So that got me through my middle of my junior year at St. John's. So around this time, the community I lived in Northwest DC, was well aware of all the different jobs I had and how hard I was working to get through St. John's. But I was finishing my junior year and I needed a job. And I went to the local community center where Bo Wright was working, kind of a legend in the community where teenagers could talk to Bo. And I asked him for a job there at the community center because my job at Bethesda Florist was coming to a close. And he said, Tom, I don't have a job for you, but I'm well aware of your situation and I'd like to pay for your senior year at St. John's. I was in shock. I couldn't believe it. You mean I don't have to work for to pay for St. John's? And he said, no, don't go to the bursar's office anymore. I'll call them and tell them I'm taking care of it. So that was it. I didn't have to pay for St. John's anymore. I could live the life of a regular teenage kid. But I was really partying hard with these Catholic school guys, and I was not welcome at home. My mom said, that's it. After my junior year, she said, you're on your own now. So I went to St. John's my senior year, living in a loft with a family named O'Leary's. And the O'Leary's had me up there living in their loft and also helping with babysitting with their 3 kids. Great family, really timely situation that I ended up in because of Father Jennings at Blessed Sacrament Elementary, who also saw me one day in the gym and said, those tennis shoes are terrible. And he came in the next day with brand new Chuck Taylor sneakers for me. So great guy. Father Jennings stepped up and got me this place to live my senior year at St. John's. And I stayed there until the end of the year when I moved back home in the spring, just before graduation. I graduated at St. John's, and my mom and I were clashing hard because she wanted me to go to college, and I just was not ready for college. I don't know if it was because of all the jobs I had or all the partying I was doing, but she said, you're out. So I moved out of my house in June of 1974, right after graduation at St. John's. And what did I do after that? That will be part 3.